I am talking with Jennifer FitzPatrick here on WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County. Say hello to my team member, Bruce Becker.
Good morning, Jennifer. How are you?
Good morning.
And Jennifer, thank you. You agreed to come on today, and we wanted to talk specifically with you, something that you know a lot about. You're a generations expert, and you speak and write about a lot of the issues involving health care and just long-term care and everyday care for our senior citizens and those that are elderly.
Absolutely right. I wrote a book called Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One. And I am happy to talk about anything related to family caregiving right now. Right now is a particularly tough time with the healthcare crisis. And I think we need to support our family caregivers now more than ever.
Well, again, those people are on the front lines of it who are doing caregiving, whether it's at the house or at a facility. Frankly, my mother who passed away in December from a long battle with Alzheimer's, dementia.
I'm so sorry.
Well, listen, she had many great years, and it does come to an end. But I gained a lot of respect for the people that were taking care of her and helped the family through. And frankly, my mother-in-law, who has some underlying health concerns, but is in a senior facility, we've not been able to get over and see her for 3 weeks now because of restrictions. And, I can just imagine, what it's like for, so many other people across the country. And then the people that have to go into the houses. But how do you see the challenges of COVID-19 and caregiving?
Because visitation right now is so limited, we have to get really creative if your loved one is in a senior living community or nursing home. So I write about this in Cruising Through Caregiving, that you don't have to see your loved one in person every time to make a connection with them. So a lot of our older adults, they just phone calls. I know a lot of us are using technology like FaceTime, Skype, Zoom. All of that is great. And most communities are really adept at being able to connect your loved one with you with that technology. But don't underestimate simply the power of a phone call. Just making a phone call right now, maybe do it a little bit more frequently than you were before. Because remember, not only is your loved one not seeing you, but they're not seeing entertainment. All these organizations would have entertainers come in, school kids, Pets on Wheels. So we really want to just make those connections, keep those connections, send goodies, send shipments. And the other thing I would like to say to families is consider sending some food, some pizzas, some treats to the senior. If you have it in your budget, send something to those workers, because those workers are putting their lives on the line every day for your loved one.
Yeah, that's another good hint. I know. Near the end for my mom, when we had a lot of people, helping her through those final days, our family tried to get over food for the people taking part. And, but one of the problems is now, as you would know, at least the facilities I'm familiar with, you can get it to an outside door, but that's about it.
Right.
And,
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the great thing, is that even though, and one of the other clever things that people are doing, and yes, when you send food items, you have to leave it outside and then they'll come get it. But another clever way that people are visiting right now is they're having their loved one come to a window, and then you can wave to them. It's not the same thing, but if you live close enough to make that drive over, it's really a beautiful thing for your loved one to be able to see you.
Jennifer, I have a question. I have an 85-year-old mother. My father passed away in August, and she now lives with my sister, who is now working from home. Is it acceptable? When we call on the phone, do you think it's acceptable or safe that I could go up there and she and I could go actually take a walk outside?
Here's the thing is every family has to make those decisions for themselves. Ideally, I think what a lot of the experts are telling us is we want to, and I don't know that any expert has said this directly, but probably the safest thing is not to commingle households if you're being extremely conservative. But if you're the secondary caregiver to helping your sister who your mom lives with, I think you and your sister have to determine, is that risk worth it? Think about it. Like all the time, like I just talked to somebody yesterday that professional caregivers are still going in, like home care aides are still going in. So I think if you're doing everything, you're following the rules, you're washing your hands, and even if you just go over and you and your mom stay 6 feet away, you go for a walk around the community, maybe you bring a meal over. Honestly, that's the safest. I don't want to give any specific to the pandemic, but if you follow the rules that your state health department and the CDC are putting out there, I think that you have to make that decision about risk. I think a lot of families are doing exactly what you just suggested, and they're taking that risk because just to give that other, you want to give your sister a break and you want your mom to see another person. So I think definitely it's not a crazy idea.
Right. I mean, my mom has already determined that I told her, I said, I don't think it's a good idea for me to come into the house, and she absolutely agrees with that. So that's not really the issue. So getting her outside for some exercise and a walk on a reasonably nice day, hopefully we get some sun.
Awesome idea.
Yeah, so do I. And I was just curious of your opinion. I'm not holding you to it, but I just was curious.
Yeah, I love it. And stay 6 feet away, and you can still talk. You can still enjoy. If it's a nice day. One of the things I'm saying to family caregivers right now is take advantage of weather that's good. Especially in your area, you guys could still actually get snow right now. And you guys.
Who told you that? Where are you calling from, Jennifer?
Actually, we could still get snow theoretically in Maryland too, but you guys are more likely than I am. But yeah, if you take advantage when there's good weather, so I think your instincts are right. I think that you should. I think that's a great way to practice social distancing while supporting your sister and getting a chance to see your mom.
Let me introduce again to our audience. This is WRLR 98.3 FM, the voice of Lake County, LP, broadcasting from Round Lake Beach. And this is our special COVID-19 crisis coverage for Saturday. And we will be on to 12 o'clock. This is a 1 hour show. Our guest right now is Jennifer FitzPatrick, who's calling from Maryland. So we thank her for getting on the line. Jennifer is a generations expert and is talking about really, one of the tougher parts of the crisis, how to keep in touch with our older relatives, the elderly, the sick, those confined at home. So she's had some great ideas there. Jennifer, as to the caregivers themselves, I mean, it's got to be, doubly tough on them because they're coming in contact with a large older population with immune systems that are not as good as everybody else, and then going back to their families. And
right.
Do you look at the impact on them at all?
Oh, for professionals, for people that work in healthcare, and absolutely. So I'll tell you, I'm working with a lot of healthcare organizations right now that are the healthcare organizations that have great leadership right now are really taking good care of their employees. And one company that I work with all up and down the East Coast, Brightview Senior Living, one example of what they're doing is they're increasing the pay for their staff. They're providing a food pantry so they can pick out some groceries to take home with them, 2 bags of groceries every week you're allowed to take with you. They're doing all kinds of really neat things like that. I know another company that I work with there's some communities out by you, as a matter of fact, Artist Senior Living. One of the things they're doing is they're bringing in experts to sort of talk, somebody that's an expert on essential workforce and keeping yourself safe and keeping yourself sane. They're bringing in expertise to kind of motivate their employees on, how to balance this tough time. Most of the healthcare companies that I work with are being really, really cognizant of they're lucky to have their staff. And most good healthcare companies are treating them as such. And I think that there's going to be a change in the paradigm after all this ends, because I think people are going to, for a long time, we've had a recruitment and retention problem in healthcare, in senior living, and with all these other industries having challenges, hospitality, restaurants, et cetera, I think we're going to see a flood of people considering going into healthcare and senior living because of the positive way that they've been treated during this time by a lot of great leadership.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
No, go ahead. I'm fine.
And again, out of every crisis, every difficult situation, there becomes positives. And one of the positives I think Jennifer just hit on, that people will realize how important those giving care to our senior citizens, those giving care to the elderly and the sick are, but also grocery store workers, gas station attendants, the people behind the counters at the drugstores, people that are stocking the shelves. We now know what those people are going through on a daily basis, how important their jobs are. Go ahead.
What I would like to challenge your listeners to do, and again, I know there's a lot of people listening that they're struggling with their budget, they're worried about the economy. If you are in a position where you can do something for the healthcare workers, for the essential workers, think about your police departments, your fire departments, your emergency personnel, your hospitals, your nursing homes, your senior livings. Can you send a dozen bagels? Can you send a couple pizzas? Can you send, you want to do it through delivery, like on Grubhub or DoorDash or one of those. But if you have an extra $10, $20, $30, maybe you can put it together with other people. This is a way that we can have a silver lining. Like, I know that when organizations like that get something, they are so moved, and it really helps to motivate them. Pharmacies are another one. They're working. Grocery stores, like you said. I think people forget pharmacies. Like, they're essential workers.
Right.
People forget about them. So I think if you have, I know there's some people that simply can't afford it right now. They're scared. They've maybe been furloughed or laid off. But if you can, this is a silver lining that you can bring to people who are out there risking their lives for people that are ill.
Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to step back one moment from that. When we're talking about caregiving for elderly, my mom does pretty well at 85 years old, but it's nice to have my sister around to help take care of her. And I know there's a lot of conflicting information from some of the experts that family members should never be caretakers. And I, for one, took care of my parents when they both had minor strokes. Within 9 hours of each other, I took care of them for 4 or 5 months, and it is an incredibly difficult scenario. Are there any special things you could tell people who are family members about caregiving, what to look out for and what to be careful of?
Absolutely. First of all, God bless you for both of your parents, taking care of them. They had that issue within 9 hours. Just unbelievable that happened and that you stepped up to the plate. So thanks for doing that. What I would say is, Cruising Through Caregiving, in that book, every single chapter is a different way that somebody who is a family caregiver can reduce stress. There's no perfect way to be a caregiver. And so what you were just saying about that, some people saying that families shouldn't do that, I completely disagree. We have 40 million Americans who are caregiving. We could not do it without them. They provide most of the care out there. So I think just one big thing is to make sure that you're not going into martyr syndrome. If you go to cruisingthroughcaregiving.com, I have a worksheet on how to determine. It's totally free. You can also get the first chapter for free. But it's a worksheet on, are you martyring yourself for your loved one? Because your loved one deserves your help. They deserve good care. But if you are burning out, you're not a decent caregiver anymore because you don't have anything to give. So I want to make sure that everybody who's listening, if you're caregiving, consider, are you in martyr syndrome? If caregiving is the only aspect of your life that you're focusing on, you're in martyr syndrome. You have to have something else. You have to have friends. You have to have volunteer work or spiritual pursuits. You have to have something else in your life. Your loved one deserves help from you, but they don't deserve everything all your energy.
I think that's great for our listeners to know, because I'm sure there are plenty of them out there that have that situation presented to them and don't really know how to handle it.
Well, it's hard because with the book, with Cruising Through Caregiving, when I wrote that, it's funny. I knew nobody reads that book until they really need it. Like, most of us are not sitting around saying, oh, well, maybe someday I'll be a caregiver. I wrote it for people who are in the midst of the stress of they feel like they can't carry on, they're exhausted. There's people who are caregiving. If your loved one has a surgery and they're going to recover in 4 weeks, you can get through that. But when, you all talked about you have loved ones that have had a stroke or they had Alzheimer's, and it could be years that they're going to need your help. You need ways to reduce your stress. You need ideas on how to find other friends and family and neighbors and people from your faith community that can participate, because there's a lot of ways that people can participate in caregiving. They can help you. They can help to support you. And you just have to, there's another exercise on cruisingthroughcaregiving.com that it's called the MET exercise, and it helps you identify people in your friend, family, neighbor, faith community network that would maybe be able to help you when you're going through the caregiving process.
Yeah. Hey, Jennifer, we're going to have to be winding up shortly, but you mentioned a website people could go to
sure.
Find out maybe some answers to some questions about caregiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Cruisingthroughcaregiving.com, free chapter, first chapter, as well as all the worksheets. Also, you can get it at most libraries. You can certainly buy it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, but most libraries carry it, and most libraries are carrying the Kindle version, too. If your library doesn't carry it, just ask them. A lot of them will, right now they're doing a lot of Kindle orders in libraries. So,
sure.
cruisingthroughcaregiving.com.
And one question before we have to run, and I'm sorry because you're a fascinating guest and excellent.
Oh, thank you. I hope you have me back. I really enjoyed this.
Well, we it looks like we'll be here for a long time with our special shows. So you might. But I did want to get to this situation, which seemed to be a little bit different. Older couple who were active, able to get out, get to their medical appointments, get to their therapies, get their groceries. But now they can't get to those things. Have you been hearing stories of how those people are affected, or what can you do to keep those people in good health so they can, stay independent when this is all over?
Well, I think all of us need to be checking in on our neighbors and asking, do you need something? Check in on all your older loved ones. But I also think this is a time, if your loved one didn't understand technology before now, this is the time they need to be taught, how to use the DoorDash app, how to order groceries online. I know there's a lot of older adults who embrace technology, but there are many still just refusing. Most of this technology is really easy. The other thing I just recommend to families is, if, just use that technology. Call the grocery store if you're worried. I know for a lot of places that deliver, you can't get an appointment because everybody's filling up the appointments for delivery. Call the grocery store, say, look, my mom's elderly, she can't get out. Can you make an exception? Maybe can you, is there any way that we can do something so she can get her essentials, or your pharmacy? A lot of these organizations are really being so mindful. Like, they want you to remember their good service during this scary crisis. And so if you call, a lot of times, like, maybe you're not be able to get what you need online, but if you call and you say, look, you talk to the manager, hey, I know you're busy, I know you're crazy, but is there any way that, like, you can get some stuff to my parent? I think a lot of places will try to accommodate you.
Okay. Jennifer, I'm going to say goodbye. Bruce has one question for you, and then probably we're going to talk soon.
It's not really a question, but I do know that there's a grocery store. I won't name any names, but there is one close to where I live that they have a special 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. shopping for seniors only, the high-risk people. And I don't know how much that has spread around, but I did notice it the other day.
It's nationwide. Nationwide. Not every grocery store is doing it, but most of them in most parts of the country are, and I think it's lovely. It's a great way that they're trying to make special accommodations.
Well, I personally would like to thank you for the information I received from you. It's very helpful.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Okay. Have a great day, Jennifer.
You too.
Thank
Stay
you.
well.
Bye-bye.